Good morning and welcome to FYI. Well, the last time I saw this young man, he was crossing the finish line of the half marathon. I'm, of course, talking about Scott Maddasion. Scott, how was the run?
It was good. And morning. I only did the 10K though, so
Have you ever done the half marathon?
I have done the half in Clinton twice.
Okay.
It's been a few years. I'm limping around with a leg injury these days. Too much pounding on the pavement and it flares up. So I don't run the long ones anymore. But I did the 10K, and I just kind of was. Normally I get really competitive in those races and I almost kill myself running, but this one I was actually able to control my emotions and I just kind of ran nice and smooth and I didn't push too hard and it was a good run.
And it was a beautiful morning. I mean, ideal for running a distance. Temperatures were cool.
Yeah, I preferred the temperature more towards the end of the run than the beginning. I'm one of those weird people that likes to run when it's like 95 degrees outside. I start putting hats and gloves and long sleeves on, and it kind of messes with my psyche when I'm running. So, but yeah, it was a wonderful day. I mean, I think last year it rained, didn't it?
Yes,
last year it was raining. It was kind of chilly. So yeah, anything's better than that.
You know, we were talking, we would like to see a few more people participated in this. We had one gentleman at the end of the race. He had done the half marathon. He was talking about how great the support was throughout the course of the run. He just loved the course. And he says, I'm going to tell more people about this. I mean, when you run the half marathon and you're going through Eagle Point Park, that's got to be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really beautiful run because you do get to see a lot of different things. And running the half marathon, it's actually an extremely challenging half marathon. I've done like 9 or 10 of them in different places, traveled around, and did some of those races. And it's challenging because when you get on Pershing, it's a slow incline, but you're running uphill for quite some time, and then you got to run through Eagle Point. And Eagle Point, they're not large hills, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot of turning and a lot of things. And when you're already 8 miles into the run, a lot of those curves and things like that, it weighs on your legs a little bit. So I think all 3 races are set up perfectly. I've ran all 3 of them. They do a really nice job of getting the routes together, and I do wish more people that are runners around would come do it because it's a beautiful scenery and it's just a beautiful. You start out 5th Avenue South, right up on Riverfront, run on the levee there, so it's just a good day, and the Y does a great job.
And time-wise, it's perfect because if you're training for the Quad City Marathon, that's just 2 weeks away from this event. Get some distance in, run a half marathon, get yourself ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you're training for Chicago comes up in October, I think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's in October. So yeah, I mean, if you're training for something like that, this is a great race to do it. And those races are fairly flat, so coming on this gives you a little bit of a challenge and really kind of test yourself as you're getting ready. So. Yeah, I mean, I think all the support organizations afterwards, and I know Hy-Vee's big into that, and they all do a wonderful job. And I think if more runners came to it, they would want to come back because they'll realize how well they're taken care of, and it's just a great day.
And the people who do the timing, and I've had the opportunity every year to read off the computer screen people as they get toward the finish line.
Yeah.
And that is so neat to be able to do that.
That is really cool to be able to do that. No matter what race you're running, it's an accomplishment, and it's kind of cool to hear your name as you're running across because you don't get that anywhere else. I'm not sure I've ever experienced that in another race anywhere.
And then of course you got the cowbells and everything like that as you're coming toward the finish line.
Yeah, I was standing at the corner. My brother ran the half marathon. This is the first half marathon he's ever run.
Okay.
And so I stood right at the corner of 5th and 2nd there and saw him coming down and cheered him on, and then continued to coach him, yell at him. There was one person that was in front of him that was about halfway to the finish line, and I'm like, you got one more person to pass. And he took off sprinting, and he passed him as he came in. And then at the end, I said, good job, but if you had that much at the end, you didn't run very hard throughout the race. And so he's like, one of those brotherly love things.
Yeah, thanks, brother. So, and one other thing before we get into your talking points, your wife just received a very nice honor.
Yeah, so my wife's the clinical lead and the trauma coordinator in the ER here, and I know There's been a lot of stuff out there about Mercy One and their changes and things they're doing, but they won Level 4 Trauma Center of the Year in the state of Iowa, which, there's different levels of what an ER can handle, and they're a Level 4 Trauma Center. Don't ask me what all that is. I just know that there. And, she's in charge of the training and all that stuff with the program. So she was in Des Moines the last couple days and accepted that award on behalf of Mercy One and her staff and her crew. And they had a little conference about that out there. And I told her, I said, just get ready to be speaking at that conference next year, And she's like, well, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, they're going to ask you, just be ready.
You can prep her on how to speak in front of people.
Sure. You just use ChatGPT and you have her the speech written and you read it.
Again, visiting with Scott Maddasion. Outdoor warning sirens, that's your first talking point.
Yeah, so I think in the last month since we've done this, that's probably the most important topic that's come up at the council agenda, and it was on the meeting the other night on the committee of the whole. We had Chance Kness, the emergency management coordinator, and then Erin George, who's a supervisor, and she's also the vice chair of the commission. They came and talked about the outdoor warning sirens. So the council set a public hearing for September 24th at 5 o'clock. That's our next council meeting. We want to get input from the citizens of Clinton. And basically, long story short, there's 18 outdoor warning sirens in the county. The 6 of them that are in the city of Clinton, and then also there's 2 in the city of Comanche that are important to note too. Those 8 are actually owned by Constellation Energy. Constellation Energy has told emergency management that they plan to phase out the use of outdoor warning sirens, and they want to go to a mass alerting system on your phones, basically. So they're dealing with the federal government, obviously, to see if because they're required to give a mass notification in some manner, right? Obviously, technology's gotten a lot better since warning sirens started, whenever they started them. Ours, I think, is 2008 when we first got them, so it hasn't been a long time. So if they get approval to use that mass notification on cell phones or things like that, they're going to decommission those sirens. They've offered them to the Emergency Management Commission or the city to have them for free. Obviously, there's going to be costs of maintenance and things like that coming into it. So the commission, Emergency Management Commission, and I'm on that, and I was one of the voting members, we decided to not use outdoor warning sirens anymore at all as of December 31st this year. If a city wants to take on the sirens that are in their area, they can do that, but the county level commission for emergency management is no longer going to handle them. So what we're doing for the city of Clinton is we're trying to determine, do the citizens want us to keep these 6 sirens that are in the city of Clinton? Do we need to take on that task so we have them, or are we okay doing just the mass notification stuff on your cell phone? So that's what the public hearing is going to be about. You can go back to the council meeting on YouTube. You can watch the presentation that Chance gave about the outdoor warning sirens and all that stuff, and I think everybody should. And sometimes we don't get a lot of participation in these things, and I really, really need people to speak up and tell us what they want, because this is an important thing. And me personally, I'm okay with the outdoor warning sirens going away. I'm fine with the mass notification on my cell phone. I have that stuff set up on my phone anyway. I get those alerts. I do know that in the past the sirens have maybe gone off at a time when they shouldn't go off. Maybe that program needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but I also can take it either way. If the citizens want the sirens, I'm perfectly fine building that into the budget and making sure that we have them. So I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I'm leaning more towards we don't really need them, but we need to hear from the citizens.
That's the important thing. You need to hear from the citizens, because if you do away with the sirens, then all of a sudden there's an uproar.
Correct.
From people saying, hey, what happened to the sirens? What's going on?
Right. And we seem to have that a lot. And I know people are busy and everything's going on, but we really need people to kind of step up and get involved in this conversation. Email myself. Email your council member. Call and leave me a voicemail. Come to the meeting. Whatever you need to do. We need some responses from people, and I don't want the response like, oh, that's a stupid idea. Tell us, we want them for this reason, or we don't want them for this reason. Give us some good feedback so that we can make the best decision for the community, because if it's just on the 8 of us sitting at that table, then it might not be what you wanted, but if we don't hear from you, then we can't we can't put that into the conversation.
So if the sirens do go away, it would be at the end of this
December
year?
31st of this year.
Okay.
The Emergency Management Commission is the one that kind of operates them all right now, and they've decided that they're no longer going to do it at the end of the year. They don't want to take any of the gifted sirens from the thing. The maintenance cost of these and the replacement cost, it's high. I mean, it could get up into the $500,000 to $1 million to replace all of them and do all those types of things. So it is a big budget number as well. Initially, probably not going to be that much, but they have about a 20-year lifespan, and most of these sirens in the city of Clinton are about at that 20-year lifespan.
Well, if you say 2008, that's 16 years. So yeah, we're knocking on the door.
I think there was some put in 08, 10, and then 14 and 16.
Okay.
There's a couple. It's in the presentation, but so some of them are a little bit newer, some of them are older. I will say this, that the Constellation maintains them outstanding, right? They do a good job maintaining them, so they're in good working order. They're in great shape, but it could be a big cost coming up for that. But so basically, I will tell you this too. When we're talking in the Emergency Management Commission meeting, I was very surprised that a lot of the small towns were immediately, the small town mayor, the folks that represent those were immediately like, yep, get rid of them. And I was like, wow. I felt like in the city of Clinton, we'd be like, we don't need them, it's fine. And the rural areas would be like, no, keep them. And they were like on board, like before I even talked at the meeting, they were just kind of like, yep, we don't need them. And I was like, okay. And I don't know if it's maybe they didn't want to bear the cost or what, but so. Yeah,
I could see, I would think along the same lines that they would want them.
And I think the biggest point about it too is they're outdoor warning sirens. They are not meant to warn you when you're sitting in your house, right? They're meant to warn you when you're outdoors. That's why there's not, thousands of them all over the place to do that. So
let's check the weather, brought to you by BillionAuto.com.
We are going to see a dry and warm day today with highs in the upper 80s. Plenty of sunshine to start, but we'll see those clouds begin to slowly build throughout the day today as remnants of Tropical Storm Francine starts to make its way north. As we get into the overnight hours with those clouds, we'll be a lot more mild with lows in the mid-60s. I'm Storm Track 8 meteorologist Morgan Strackbein with your Weather Impact forecast.
Sunshine, 68 degrees. Our update brought to you by BillionAuto.com.
So, you need a new vehicle. What's the best vehicle for you? Where do you get financing? What's your trade worth? Answer all these questions and more at BillionAuto.com. You can compare 16 new car brands and thousands of used vehicles, all in the palm of your hand at BillionAuto.com. Plus, estimate the trade value of your vehicle in 2 easy steps. It's car buying made easy. Apply for credit pre-approval at BillionAuto.com. All applications accepted, not all approved.
FYI, we got the Mayor, Scott Maddasion, in. Another kind of interesting talking point, Riverview Study online feedback survey.
Yeah, so in the last month, we've had a couple public meetings about a study that we're looking at on the riverfront, right? Another conversation that we need to have. None of this stuff that was presented, none of the stuff that's in the survey or on the paper is a done deal. No developers have been hired. We're not ready to move ground in any aspect whatsoever. But it's a conversation we need to have on how to better utilize our riverfront from north to south. If you didn't make those meetings, you can go back on YouTube. You can look at the public meetings. You can watch them. You can hear the presentation that was given by Smith Group, who we're working with on this study. The actual online survey is available right now, and again, honest feedback from all citizens is what we want. So go onto our website, get onto that survey, and make sure you're letting your voice be heard. Whether it's I like this, I don't like this, whatever it is, give us some reasons why, give us some feedback, give us some good information, because we really want to progress our city. I know I do, and I want to attract more people to live here. I also want more things to do for the people that are here right now and that have been here for 50, 60, 70 years, whatever that is. So if we don't have these conversations, we're going to be stagnant. We're never going to move anywhere. So we have to have these conversations. Maybe some of these ideas are great. Maybe some of them are terrible. I think some of them are terrible that are in the study too. But I also think some of them are really good. And I think some of them are like, well, I might need more information, but Maybe, right? So that's what we're looking for is some good, honest feedback.
Now, you talk north to south. Are we looking like from Eagle Point to 8th Avenue South, or what are we all talking
So
there?
we're not messing with Eagle Point whatsoever. Eagle Point is on its own. So we're looking right about the 30th Avenue boat ramp.
Okay.
Down to the would be like 6th Avenue South area basically. In that area is kind of what we're looking at. Now we did add in that area in front of the sawmill. We don't sawmill museum. We don't own that. The sawmill owns it, but we felt like in the study maybe we could kickstart some ideas for them, and maybe they would have some ideas of what they want to do with that. So a lot of that stuff is just kind of speculative, like, hey, you could do this here. This would fit nice here. But ultimately, I think we need to look at how we can better utilize our riverfront. And maybe the best utilization of riverfront is exactly the way it is right now. And that's fine. And I'm okay with that. But if we don't have the conversation about what could be, and we don't have big ideas and big dreams, then we're always just going to be right where we are.
So how much of that property is actually city-owned, Scott?
So the majority of, so right in front of the sawmill where McElhaney's used to be, all that, that's all owned by the Sawmill Museum. One parcel is owned by a private owner. Between the 25th Avenue and 30th Avenue boat ramp, there's a couple parcels owned by a private owner. The rest is owned by the city. If you go around the North Bridge area, that's a lot of private ground in that area until you get down to the marina, because you got Custom Pack and Air Control and a couple other places there. But once you get down to the marina, the city owns the rest of it all the way down to 6th Avenue South. So it's kind of a, we wrap like that Rainbow Park area in there, and they had a really cool idea about adding some RV camping up there along the river. Move the park, new park equipment, kind of redesign it, move it a little bit, and they even had a way to like the creek that runs through there, like redesign that so it kind of weaves through a little bit. Still does what it's supposed to do, but just kind of change the course of it a little bit. I thought that was kind of interesting and probably more money than we want to spend. But little things like that, it makes you think outside the box, and that's one thing that I like to do is I like to be challenged in the thought process a little bit.
Now, is there any kind of a timeline on this at all, Scott?
Yeah, and I knew you were going to ask me that because you're a news guy, but
I'm not a news guy. I'm a sports guy.
You're a sports guy. But no, I don't have the exact timeline on that, but it is going to be closed up here pretty soon, so we want to make sure and get on there.
Hey, we're on the riverfront, so let's talk about Tailgate and Tall Boys.
Yeah, so we had our second year of Tailgate and Tall Boys. We're moving into the third year. Just being transparent with everyone, we had our meeting at the end of August that talked about the numbers and kind of where we ended up and all that stuff. We're still learning, we're still growing, but we ended up spending $158,000 this year. The first year we spent $199,000 that we didn't recoup on services and costs and things, and this year was $158,000. So we're in that like $358,000 is what the city has spent so far to have Tailgate and Tall Boys in 2 years. And if you remember real quick, we put $500,000 in at the beginning of this. We have never put another penny into it. So of that $500,000, we have about $140,000 left of that $500,000. So I would expect that this year we're probably going to have to put a little bit more money into it. We committed $1.5 million a year. So we should have already put $3 million in, and we've only put $500,000 in. So I think we're doing pretty good on that front. But this year the numbers were higher. Revenues weren't necessarily higher, just for a couple reasons. The way our lineup was built, I think people waited till the last minute to come down there because they didn't know the earlier acts or something of that nature. You can't predict what people are going to purchase, right? If they're going to buy food or drinks or anything like that. So we're going to continue to try to create a experience where people want to be there all day for 3 days. We're going to continue to increase camping. We're going to continue to grow. We're working on some more cost-cutting things. We cut costs after year one, and then we ran into some labor costs and some things like that were higher than normal because labor is high right now. It's the economy. It's things that we couldn't control. So that kind of chewed into our cost saving that we thought we were going to have for year two. So at the end of the day, I think we're doing really well. We're moving into year three. Council voted yes unanimously to have the city, Josh Eggers and I, talk with USA Concerts about pursuing a contract extension because
Okay.
we're in the last year of the contract right
Right.
now. So
Okay.
we're going to be looking for that.
All right. Capital improvement planning coming soon.
Yeah, so this is something that I really want folks to pay attention to as well. More feedback. That's like the theme of this, right? Is feedback. Capital improvements planning is coming up in the October-November timeframe. We have a citizen-led group with some council members and some city officials and things that are on this committee. Capital improvements planning is what type of projects we want to do in the city in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, right? And we talk about all these types of projects. So if there's things that you want to see in the city of Clinton, then you need to reach out to myself or your council members so we can get it on this capital improvements list. This group can kind of negotiate through what the cost would be for this, get it on there so it can be talked about at these meetings. You can come to the meeting and advocate for it if you'd like, and then we can work through that process so that we have an outlook of what we want to do over the next year. Just an idea thing. One thing that I'm gonna put on the meeting this year, not a large one, but I would like to put a public splash pad on the north end, somewhere around the Farmers Pavilion. I think that area is getting a lot of buzz lately with the pavilion and the Foursquare Park and the concerts they're doing there and everything. And I would love to put a small little splash pad up there if they can. So
Yeah.
that's something that I want to put on there because I think we have the big splash pad down at the Riverview Pool, which is outstanding, but it'd be nice to have just a little one up there where people could go use it if they don't have a lot of time or they're not going down to the pool. So
We got a couple minutes left in the program. Construction season is well underway. How are things looking on the roads right now?
outstanding. I love detours. I love that's progress in my eyes, right? No, we're working on getting the stoplights up everywhere in some of those projects we did on the intersections on the north end there. So some of those have been delayed because of parts and things like that. So we're getting that done. They're doing a really nice job on Springdale. At the race the other day, we got to run on Springdale a little bit.
Oh, okay.
They've got a portion of it that's completed, enough for us to run on it, I guess, right? And then also there's going to be an addition on there. They got a trail that goes from 13th Avenue North to 19th Avenue North on the west side of Springdale now. So that trail that's on 19th will connect down to 13th, and then next spring, summer time frame, the trail along 13th will go in. So now we'll have kind of a loop where you can kind of run or bike or whatever and have that nice long trail going around.
Very good.
Yeah.
Next time we talk to you, it'll be in October, and Halloween will be upon us.
Yeah, people start emailing me in like August about when Trick or Treat's going to be. So this year, it's
Well, you got to buy your candy. Come
I
on.
suppose, right? Yeah, October 31st is a Thursday night. Will be Trick or Treat this year, and then the Monday before will be obviously the Halloween parade too. And I think it's Monsters of the Mississippi or something like that is
really?
their theme, or I think it's something to do with monsters. I can't remember the exact phrase, but yeah. So I think my family and I are going to do a float again this year, like we did last year. Worked out pretty well. They had me. I'm not a costume guy. They made me dress up like Woody from Toy Story, so I guess that was okay. But we'll see what they make me do this year.
Feedback, the theme. So if people want to give feedback to the city, how can they best do that, Scott?
Yeah, so go on to these, come to the meetings, obviously for the outdoor warning, or go to do the study online. But like we always end with, email a council member, email myself, put in a ticket with the city, but utilize the website. The website has a lot of resources on there of where you can, put in your feedback or whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent, and then we'll get to it and we'll take care of it.
Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Love it. Embrace